Should you give the price upfront at the beginning of your sales calls, or should you wait till the end of your sales calls? There's good amount of debate on this, and I don't see it as a have to do one way or the other. I see it more of like just a pros and cons list, and you have to do the numbers, do the math, test it out for yourself, and see which one you like more. I have experience with doing both, and I did them both on the same offer. I ended up falling to one side and continuing on for the foreseeable future with it on that offer. But yeah, I guess I'll just talk about my experience with it and the pros and cons that I experienced, because that's really only where I can speak from. Now, on this offer, what we would do is, when I say giving the price up front, is the person would show up to the call. We'd kick off the call, frame the call, drop the price right then and there, letting you know if we do end up working together, it's going to be this. And then, is that going to, like, how does that sound, kind of thing, right? And then if they kind of weren't really about it, if they're like, no, there's no way I can afford that, I can't, we would just end the call right there. If they were like, yeah, cool, I mean, makes sense, then we would continue the call. Now, I will say, before I give the numbers of kind of the differences here, I didn't push too heavily on the people who said like, hey, I can't afford it. Now, if I had said, hey, you know what, like if I had, made an effort to continue the call a little bit more, I probably could have ended the call a lot less frequently and brought more people through the entirety of the process. I probably closed more. But maybe it was laziness, whatever it was. If the person just like wasn't with the price right away, I didn't really fight it. I just said, cool, guess it's not for you, and kind of ended the call with that person and moved on to the next, which led to a really high close rate. Overall, people showing up to the call, close rate was about 50%. With the people that got past that beginning portion of the call, like that part was really the deciding factor. Anyone who got through that portion of the call was like 90, almost 100% close rate. It was like, I think it was like 95% of those people ended up closing because they already knew the price. And, the VSL that they were coming through is from YouTube ads. It was a good VSL. It was very clear about what we helped with, called out their problem good. It was good leads, good marketing. They came on the call wanting help with a very specific problem. And really the only obstacle was, hey, do I believe you guys can help me with this problem? And is this am I willing to pay the amount that you guys are charging to solve the problem? And obviously dropping the price up front, they were able to get the price point thing out of the way. And anyone who continued, like I said, closed at a really high rate. Overall, like I said, the close rate was about 50% doing that. Now, I also tested out. Now, actually, before I say that, I will say almost all of those closes were PIFs as well, which is pretty good. I mean, some of them were payment plans, but a good majority of them were pay in fulls, obviously, because the people that moved on were like, yeah, I have the money, or I could at least do a 2-pay, 3-pay, 1-pay, like they moved on. Testing out the other way though, it resulted in a higher close rate. So testing out, just kicking off the call frame, getting into discovery, and then dropping price at the end, close rate was around 60% doing it that way. And that difference in 10% was mostly just doing open wallet conversations and creating payment plans with people that couldn't necessarily, like, they just didn't have the money to pay it all up front, or just didn't want to pay that much up front, right? It wasn't that everyone didn't have the exact amount. Some people just didn't want to pay it up front because we didn't have, like when I put the price at the beginning, we didn't have the time to really build the value in the program that we were selling and the thing we were selling, and build the, I guess, belief in how we could help them make that transformation. Because I really believe that on these sales calls, if you're a really good closer, you won't just provide a solution to the problem. And this is why going forward, not only on that offer, but other offers going forward, always waited till the end to drop price. But I truly believe in what I've seen is a good or a great closer. They're not just, allowing people to see that, hey, I can solve your problem through probing, through discovery, And through great questioning, you're helping people realize usually that the problem they thought they had is actually much bigger, right? They're coming in like, because I believe that everyone comes into the call with a preconceived level of pain or a preconceived level of desire. And attached to that is their willingness, like the amount they're willing to invest to either solve that pain or get to that desire. And usually what like good salespeople will do is they'll come in and they'll pitch a service, they'll have the conversation, they'll unlock and realize what that level is, and then they'll pitch a service. And if they're closing deals, it just so happened that person came in with enough pain or enough desire that the amount was worth the investment in their eyes. But what a really great closer will do is they'll actually increase those things, right? Through their questioning, through their probing, through their ability to discover, they will help the person realize that maybe they're actually in more pain than they thought they were, or maybe more is possible on the goal side or desire side. More, they could achieve more than they thought that they could achieve at the beginning, and maybe they're aiming a little bit too low with their targets. And that, in correlation, the amount they're willing to invest to either solve that pain or achieve that desire goes up in conjunction with it. And if you're putting the price right at the beginning of the sales call, and if they give any pushback, if you're just ending it right there like I was, you usually don't get the opportunity to do that yet. And you're most likely missing out on a couple, if not a lot, of deals doing that. Now, there's obviously nuances between niches. There's a lot of nuance to it. I can't say definitively there's a right or wrong way to go about it, because cranking the numbers, you could also say, hey, you increased on that one offer by 10%. What about all the extra time you spent on those calls? Because those calls didn't end right at the beginning. I think it was like 30 to 40% of the calls when I was putting it up front ended right there. The rest of the time, because all those calls continued, is those extra hours worth the extra 10% on the close rate? Was it worth the extra cash collected, the extra revenue? Again, you'd have to crunch some numbers that I don't necessarily remember to crunch. Like, I don't have it on the top of my head, but I'd have to crunch some numbers to really, really see. And, it's different for different people in different situations. Let's say you're working multiple offers. Would you rather spend those extra hours on your second offer, or like open up some more availability? Like, it really just depends. Would you rather spend that time self-setting other deals and just like qualifying people yourself and getting higher commission, usually because offers will give higher commission for that? So there's so many different avenues. There's so many different ways you could look at it. And it really just comes down to looking at the pros and cons. I personally think, because of that factor of not getting the opportunity to help someone discover things, help someone get clarity, because I do believe that as a closer, you are like almost a doctor. You're diagnosing what it is the problem is. And a lot of times people come in not really understanding what the real problem is, not understanding how big of a problem it is, not understanding like what's possible with the thing they're trying to get into. And part of what you're doing is helping them realize that. And then also, depending on, certain offers have different ways in which they help people, and giving a price first before you've kind of seen the level of support they need doesn't make sense. Like, this is for like, hey, I've got this program, this coaching thing. It's group coaching plus course or whatever. And it's just one price for everyone. That's just what it is. But this wouldn't really work if it was like a marketing agency. I guess if the marketing agency had packages, there are a lot of agencies who's got like just the packages on their website. Like, this is what we charge for Facebook ads. But some higher level agencies, they might have different ways in which they help their clients. So they really need to have that conversation so they can custom tailor a solution. So again, it's not a one size fits all. There's just so much nuance. There's so much things to look at when you're considering which way you're going. So closers on your offers, you could test both, see how it works. But if I had to pick one camp to be in, I would be in the camp of let's leave it till the end of the call, just because I want to make sure that we have a full conversation. I can, really help that person get clarity on what the problem is, get clarity on what's possible with their desire before we talk pricing. If the service is not like, they're not like convinced on the service, I don't think there's a reason to talk about pricing. So That's just what camp I'm in. I'll leave it there for this video. Hopefully that helps you guys kind of see what the questions are between those two different camps, and what some of the pros and cons are between them. But I'll leave it there for the video. See you guys in the next one.